Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a real head-scratcher, Uri Geller. You know, the man who could supposedly bend spoons with just a thought. But could he really? Let's dive in.
So let's get right to it. What's the real story here? Was this guy a genuine psychic, or was he just the most convincing illusionist we've ever seen? I mean, this is a question that has had everyone talking for decades. We're talking scientists, intelligence agencies, and of course, the public.
Okay, you have to put yourself back in the 70s for a second. Imagine you're sitting at home watching live TV. There are no fancy special effects, no slick editing. It's just a guy, a spoon, and then the spoon just bends. Right there. Keys would twist, silverware would just wilt, and the entire world was just completely mesmerized. What was happening?
And it didn't stop with metal bending, not by a long shot. Geller said he could read minds, so people would draw something, seal it in an envelope so no one could see it, and somehow he'd draw the exact same thing. The results were just shockingly accurate. It was like he was literally looking inside their head.
Then there was this other thing he did, the watch trick. It was wild. He'd go on TV and tell everyone watching at home to grab their old, broken watches. And then, all of a sudden, the TV station phone lines would just light up. Thousands of people calling in, swearing that their watches had just started ticking again. Was it a miracle? Or just the power of suggestion on a massive scale?
So, you gotta ask, how does a guy from Tel Aviv become this global sensation? To really get a handle on the whole Uri Geller mystery, yeah, we need to rewind and go right back to the start.
So Geller's whole story apparently kicks off with a spoon bending in his soup when he was just a kid. Crazy, right? He grows up, serves as a paratrooper, and then starts performing. He takes these abilities of his to small clubs, and pretty soon the whole world is buzzing, asking that one big question. Is this just magic? Or is it something more?
And just like that, Geller's fame completely blew up. And it wasn't just regular folks on their couches who were hooked. Oh no, we're talking serious scientists. They wanted to know, could any of this actually be real? And that's when the stage was set for what would become one of the most talked about, most controversial scientific studies of the entire century.
So you've got these two researchers from Stanford, a really prestigious place, right? Harold Puthoff and Russell Targ. They invite Geller to their lab, and their goal was pretty straightforward. They wanted to figure out, once and for all, under super strict lab conditions, if this guy was a total fake or the real deal.
And what they saw, well, it was so mind-blowing, they literally had to come up with a new name for it. They called it the Geller effect. So what on earth did Uri Geller do in that lab that had these brilliant scientists totally stumped?
Now, we're not talking about your run-of-the-mill magic show here. These tests at Stanford were designed to be airtight, totally foolproof. In some of the experiments, even the scientists themselves didn't know the answer at a time. That way, there was absolutely no way they could give Geller any clues, not even by accident. And the results? Honestly, they were just insane. Get this, in the dice test, Geller correctly predicted the outcome 8 out of 8 times. 8 for 8. The probability of that happening just by luck is something like 1 in a trillion. Yeah, you heard that right. This was clearly not just a lucky guess. Something else was going on.
And the incredible results just kept piling up. He nailed the drawing test. He passed the dowsing test. He even managed to change the reading on a scientific scale without touching it. Now, the one thing he couldn't do in the lab was the spoon bending thing without any physical contact. But still, the rest of the evidence was just so compelling. Uri Geller became a supernatural superstar. And for a moment, it really seemed like maybe, just maybe, this was all real.
But right when he was at the absolute peak of his fame, a challenger stepped into the ring. A man who looked at all that scientific data and just wasn't buying it. A man who claimed he knew exactly how Geller did all his tricks, and his name was James Randi.
And just like that, the battle lines were drawn. You had Uri Geller, the psychic phenomenon, and on the other side, James the amazing Randi, who was a world-famous magician himself. And Randi went on this huge public mission to prove Geller was a fraud. His argument was simple. Every single thing Geller does, it's just a magic trick.
And Randi didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk. He'd go on TV shows and bend spoons, exactly like Geller did. He'd show people the sleight of hand, the misdirection. He revealed the secrets. And all of a sudden, people started to doubt. The public wasn't so sure what to believe anymore. You could feel the magic starting to wear off.
So as more and more people started to get skeptical, Geller kind of disappeared from the TV spotlight. But his story? It was nowhere near over. In fact,
Things are about to take a turn for the truly bizarre. Forget bending spoons on talk shows. We're about to get into psychic spies.
And this is where it gets really interesting. I mean, if Geller was just a simple magician, why were some of the most powerful organizations on the planet so interested in him? He started working for huge oil companies, supposedly using his powers to find oil deposits. And then, the intelligence agencies came knocking.
We're talking the big leagues here. The CIA, Israel's intelligence agency, Mossad. According to Geller and other sources, they all wanted a piece of the Geller effect. They were hoping to turn his unique talents into a weapon in the secret, shadowy battles of the Cold War.
Okay, I know this sounds like something straight out of a James Bond movie, right? But this isn't fiction. According to declassified CIA documents and a major BBC documentary, this stuff actually happened. The CIA's own report after testing him concluded they found no trickery. And get this, he was allegedly sent on a mission to psychically erase data from KGB floppy disks during the Cold War. You can't make this up.
So, wow, where do we even go from here? After all the television performances, the serious scientific studies, and these incredible claims of espionage, what's the final verdict? What are we supposed to make of Uri Geller?
It's honestly the perfect puzzle, because the evidence is split right down the middle. On the one hand, you have these unbelievable results from the Stanford tests, but on the other hand, you have James Randi showing everyone how it could be a trick. You have the CIA saying they found no trickery, but then you have Geller refusing to take on a massive public challenge for £250,000. It's a total stalemate. And you know, Geller himself doesn't always make things clear. He actually admits that some of the things he does, like starting watches, can be explained by simple science, like body heat. But he has always maintained that his core abilities, the mind reading, the predictions, are absolutely real. It just leaves you wondering, where does the performance end and the real phenomenon begin? So, what's the final answer? Who was Uri Geller? A genuine psychic phenomenon? A masterful fraud? A Cold War spy? A brilliant showman? Or maybe he was a little bit of all of those things? The story of Uri Geller is so much more than just bending spoons. It really forces us to question the limits of what we think is possible. And in the end, maybe the only person who truly knows the whole story is Geller himself.